What if we could take our very own immune cells, pull them out, and turn them into super soldiers? I mean, really engineer them for a single purpose, to hunt down and destroy cancer. Well, that's not science fiction anymore. That is the incredible, revolutionary reality of CAR T therapy, and we are going to break it all down right now. Okay, so first, let's just set the stage a little bit. The overwhelming majority of human cancers, we're talking over 90%, are what scientists call solid tumors. Think of things like lung cancer, breast cancer, pancreatic cancer. They form an actual physical mass of tissue. And right there, that brings us to the central mystery we're tackling in this explainer. If this CAR T therapy is such a massive breakthrough, why does it have such a tough time fighting the most common kinds of cancer out there? Well, to figure that out, we've got to first understand how this incredible living drug actually works. So let's start where CAR T has been a home run, a true game changer. I mean, we're talking about a treatment so effective and unique, it's literally called a living drug. Here's the basic idea. Doctors take your T cells, which are the natural soldiers of your immune system, and they give them a serious high-tech upgrade. In a lab, they add this synthetic receptor, a CAR, which basically acts like a heat-seeking missile guidance system. It programs the T cell to hunt down one specific marker that's only found on cancer cells. And the power of this idea? It's just undeniable. In blood cancers, things like leukemia and lymphoma, CAR T has been nothing short of miraculous. We already have approved treatments that go after a protein called CD19, and they have put patients, people who had no other options left, into complete long-term remission. For so many of these people, this wasn't just another treatment. It's been a cure. But, and this is a huge but, when these same cellular super soldiers try to go after a solid tumor, they don't just find cancer cells. They run headfirst into a fortress. It's this incredibly complex and hostile place that is designed specifically to keep them out and shut them down. So let's break down its defenses one by one. The first line of defense is just classic camouflage. I mean, imagine you're trying to find a target that can keep changing its disguise. Not every single cancer cell inside a tumor looks the same. They show different markers on their surface. So if your CAR T cells are only programmed to look for one single marker, any cancer cells that don't happen to have it can just hide, survive, and cause a relapse later on. Okay, next up, the fortress has a force field. Seriously, the whole area around the tumor is actively trying to kill any immune cells that show up. It pumps out all these inhibitory signals. You can think of them like molecular stand-down orders that just totally exhaust the incoming CAR T soldiers, switching them off before they even get a chance to fight. And finally, there are literal physical walls. Solid tumors build this dense, fibrous web all around themselves, something called the extracellular matrix. It's like a jungle of tangled collagen that physically stops the T cells from ever reaching the cancer cells. They're just stuck on the outside, looking in. So it's pretty clear the original T cell soldier just isn't equipped for this kind of war. And the solution? Well, you build a better soldier. Scientists are now in this amazing biological arms race, engineering smarter, stronger CAR T cells that are specifically designed to overcome every single one of those defenses. And, this technology has evolved incredibly fast. The first generation was really just a basic on switch. Then the second and third generations added extra internal signals to make the T cells more powerful and help them last longer. Those are the versions used in the therapies approved today. But it didn't stop there. Fourth-gen CARs, which they call trucks, are like tiny armored transports that carry extra weapons, like proteins called cytokines, to fight back. And the fifth generation is even more advanced, finding new ways to keep that T cell fired up and ready to go. So how do you beat that camouflage defense? Simple. You give the soldier better goggles. Instead of just looking for one target, these newer bispecific CAR T cells are designed to recognize two different markers at the same time. This makes it so much harder for any cancer cell to hide, and it dramatically cuts down the chance of the tumor escaping. And to get through that force field, you need armor. These so-called armored CAR T cells are built to just ignore the tumor's stop signals. Some of them can even release their own stimulating proteins, basically creating their own morale boost right there on the battlefield. And some are even more clever. They have these special receptors that can take a stop signal from the tumor and actually flip it into a go signal inside the T cell. How cool is that? And what about those physical walls? How do you get past those? Well, you give the soldiers demolition tools. Scientists are now engineering CAR T cells to pump out enzymes that act like molecular scissors.
These enzymes can literally digest that dense matrix around the tumor, clearing a path for themselves and for other immune cells to flood in and attack. But look, with all of this incredible, mind-bending power comes some significant risk. When you engineer a super soldier, you have to be prepared for what happens when its attack goes into overdrive. This quote just nails it perfectly. When you have hundreds of millions of these engineered T-cells all switching on at the exact same time, the immune system explosion can be, well, overwhelming. And this intense reaction can sometimes cause collateral damage to healthy parts of the body, leading to some very serious side effects. So there are two main side effects you hear about. The first is cytokine release syndrome, or CRS. It's this massive inflammatory wave that can cause really high fevers and dangerous drops in blood pressure. The second is called ICANS, and it affects the brain, causing things like confusion, trouble speaking, or even seizures. Now, the really good news is that doctors are getting much, much better at managing these, with drugs that can calm that storm without having to call off the whole attack. And this chart really puts it all into perspective, because while those side effects sound pretty scary, the reality for most patients is that they are mild and totally manageable. The severe or life-threatening cases are far less common, and with doctors now on the lookout, the risks can be controlled really effectively. So, we have a smarter, stronger soldier. We're managing the risks, but the ultimate victory? That might not come from a single hero after all. The future, turns out, is all about teamwork. You see, what scientists are realizing is that the real key to beating solid tumors isn't just about building a better soldier. It's about having a better battle plan. And that future lies in combining CAR-T with other therapies in this coordinated, multi-pronged attack, where every weapon makes the others even better. So what does a combined assault actually look like? Well, you could use chemo first, not to kill the tumor, but just to soften up its defenses. Or you could use targeted radiation to act like a giant flare, turning a quiet, cold tumor into a hot one that basically screams for the CAR-T cells to come find it. You can even use special viruses that infect and burst open tumor cells, creating chaos and revealing all new targets for the immune system to attack. And the amount of global effort behind this idea is just astounding. Right now, there are around 200 clinical trials happening, all specifically testing these next-generation CAR-T therapies against solid tumors. The momentum here is absolutely undeniable. Which brings us right back to our final question. We started with this hero, powerful but flawed, unable to conquer the fortress of solid tumors. But now, through brilliant engineering and smarter strategies, we're not just building a better soldier, we're building a smarter army. The battle is far from over, but the question isn't really if these therapies will work against solid tumors anymore. It's when, and for how many people.